email me or go to my web, walterblock.com. Email me and I'll send you about 15 articles I've written on this. I think it's a very important issue because lives are at stake. Young human beings are dying. Now, I'm neither pro-life nor pro-choice, although my heart is with pro-life, as is Ron Paul. But we're losing. We're losing. I mean, right now, they have partial birth abortions, where they go into the fetus in the 9th month and take his brains out and then deliver him dead. This is just outright murder.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to offer a compromise, and my compromise is what I call a principled compromise. An unprincipled compromise would be, you say 2 + 2 is 4, I say 2 + 2 is 6, so we compromise 2 + 2 is 5. That's not a principled compromise. I've got what I think is a principled compromise that is true to libertarianism in a way that even pro-life is not true to libertarianism. So I'm going to offer you this theory on 2 grounds. One, utilitarian, on the ground that it'll save lives now, and we will win the pro-life side if we adopt evictionism and reject pro-life. And secondly, because it's deontologically correct. I think it's the only theory compatible with libertarianism. Well, what is libertarianism? The non-aggression axiom, no force, no fraud, no threats, and private property rights. We need private property rights because if I grab your shirt, did I commit theft? No, it depends if you're the rightful owner of it. If you stole it from me yesterday and then I'm just repossessing my own property. So it's very important that we steer clear of evading either of these two, because these are the opposite sides of the coin of libertarianism: private property rights and non-aggression. Another assumption I'm going to make is that the fertilized egg is a young human being.
Yeah!
Because the sperm alone will not become a human being, the egg alone will not become a human being, but the fertilized egg, if put in the right environment, will become a human being. It's a very young human being, but it's a human being. So I'm starting with that principle. I believe it's true, and also I will not be taking the pro-life point of view. I will defend the killing of some of these young human beings. And I don't want to make a straw man argument for myself. I want to make a hard argument for myself to show that the evictionist theory can deal with even difficult challenges. So what is evictionism? Evictionism is the idea that the mother has a right to evict, to rid herself of the fetus whenever she wants, but not to kill it. It's a complex concept. It's very similar to labor unions. What is the libertarian view on labor unions? Are we in favor or against the strike? Well, the strike, too, is a complex phenomenon. On the one hand, it's a mass quit. Everybody has a right to quit. If an individual has a right to quit a job, if he doesn't, he's a slave. He doesn't lose it if other people quit also. Although in the early days of labor unionism, they put people in jail for quitting en masse. You have a right to quit en masse. But the second part of the strike is a blockade or a trespass. You keep scabs out and you don't allow the owner to conduct his business. So are we for or against strikes? We compromise on that. We say, well, a strike is a good thing and a bad thing. Well, I say it's the same thing with evictionism. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Or rather, abortion is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is eviction, because of private property rights, the woman owns her womb. On the other hand, it's a bad thing. You're killing a human being. So it's a principled compromise. The pro-life people believe you don't have a right to evict or to kill. You have to carry the fetus for 9 months. The pro-choice people believe you have a right to evict at any time, even in the 9th month, if it'll kill, and you have a right to kill. Whereas the evictionist takes one from each side, so it's a true compromise. Namely, we believe you have a right to evict, but not to kill. Now, sometimes, in the early days of a baby, the only way to evict is to kill. And my theory favors this on libertarian grounds. Let me explain. What I'm saying is that the unwanted fetus is a trespasser. There's this philosopher, Judith Jarvis Thompson. She comes up with this case. You go to bed, and you wake up the next morning, and you're connected with an umbilical tube to somebody else. And you turn to this person and you say, how come you happen to be in my bed connected to my kidney? He says, I don't know. I went to sleep last night in the hospital. It must have been some renegade doctor who attached us. Do you have a right to shoot him? No. Do you have to stick with him for the rest of his life? No. You can evict him. You can take him to the hospital and say, look, doctors, cut this umbilical cord, I want to evict him. I think that this is a good analogy for the mother who wants to evict the baby. Notice, when I say the unwanted fetus is a trespasser, it's easy to see in the case of rape. A young woman walks down the street, she gets grabbed, she gets impregnated, and now there's something growing in her that she didn't agree to, and it's a trespasser. If that's not a trespasser, then nothing is a trespasser. If she doesn't have a right to evict that human being, because it's innocent, it didn't commit rape, children are not guilty for their parents' crimes. If she doesn't have a right to evict that fetus, then we might as well kiss private property rights goodbye. But all fetuses are equal in their rights to life, the product of rape and the product of voluntary sexual intercourse. So what I'm saying is that not only does the woman have a right to evict the product of rape, but also to evict any fetus at any time for any reason because it's her private property. She has a right to evict if she changes her mind, because the womb is her private property. Now let me deal with a few objections. The first one is, well, she agreed. When she had the sexual intercourse, she agreed to possibly have a baby. Well, and she has to made her bed, she has to lie in it. Well, just because you make a bed, you don't have to lie in it. That's not a libertarian premise. The libertarian premise is private property rights, and she still has private property rights over her womb, even if she agreed to something. The second one is that she knew full well. Well, another point is that some people don't know. They're ignorant. Many, many years ago, people didn't know how babies came. They thought from the stork or whatever. The third one is that she had a contract. Now, if it was a host mother, then she has a contract and then she can't evict. Fine. But if there's no host mother situation, there's no contract. Now, let me explain the birds and the bees with you. You see, when intercourse occurs, there is no fertilized egg. It takes a little while for the sperm to get to the egg. So at the time of intercourse, she couldn't have had a contract with the fetus, even if we allow fetuses to have contracts, because you have to have two people to have a contract. And there was no two people at the time of intercourse. Later on, an hour or whenever, I'm not biologist enough to say, but later on. So I reject these objections. Another one is, suppose I invite you into my plane, my airplane, and now we're at 30,000 feet, and I say, okay, leave. Well, here there is an implicit contract. Namely, if I invite you to my plane or my boat, I'm obligated to get you back on Earth. So I reject these objections. Now, what are the benefits? The benefits are, in adopting evictionism, we will be true to libertarian theory in a way that neither pro-life nor pro-choice is true to libertarianism. And what we want to do with libertarianism is to be accurate about it. We want to understand it. We don't want to just mouth it as a piety. We have to dig deep. We have to apply it rigidly, logically. And I think that evictionism does that. Secondly, there are utilitarian benefits. If we adopt evictionism, in one fell swoop, we save the lives of all kids in the third trimester. 7th, 8th, and 9th month, no more. No more killing. You can evict, you can't kill, because the fetus is viable in the 7th, 8th, and 9th month, and there will be people who will adopt these babies. So in one fell swoop, we save 1/3 of babies, which is pretty darn good for libertarian theory. Secondly, much better, every 10 years, medical science will progress if we don't blow ourselves up first. Which means that in 10 or 15 years, we'll be able to save babies in the 6th month. And then in 50 years, maybe in the 5th, 4th, 3rd month. Does anyone doubt that in 200 or 300 years, medical science will be able to evict a baby and put it in a host mother, a test tube, or whatever magical thing they have in 200 years? We will have one in 200 years if we adopt evictionism. Whereas if we stick with pro-life, we won't win. We're losing. We're losing losing the war. You have this partial birth abortion. The majority of the populace, the majority of the electorate favors pro-choice, so-called pro-choice. So with pro-life, we're never going to win. So in my heart, I'm pro-life. I want babies to be saved. I don't like mass murder, and this is mass murder. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah.